All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Socialist Report. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below if you want to. But let's just get right into it. We've got a video from Senator Mr. Bernie Sanders here. And we're just going to start right away with it.
So
By the way, yeah, Social Security is the topic he'll be talking about. He'll be talking about how it's under attack by the rich oligarchs in the country, those in power, the Republican Party, some in the Democrat Party that are being, they get their money from wealthy individuals and wealthy corporations, basically through lobbying.
Social Security is, I think, as everybody knows, one of the most popular and successful government programs in the history of our nation. For more than 80 years, in good times and bad, Social Security has paid out every benefit owed to every eligible American on time and without delay. And I think it's important to make that point. We live in a moment of great insecurity, and yet Social Security, since its inception, has never failed the American people and remains a program enormously important to them and one that they can rely upon. Not once over more than 8 decades of operation, not during the pandemic that we're in, not during the Wall Street crash, has anyone ever received a letter or a phone call from the Social Security Administration saying, sorry, the economy is not doing well, we need to cut your benefits? Never.
All right, so like he's saying, never has it happened that benefits for Social Security has been reduced, and it should not, because if our government's worried about the economy, if we're worried about not enough money in the economy and inflation, all of that, all of the problems with the economy right now, they would lower the military budget. They would lower our foreign aid budget. We would put a wealth tax on the wealthiest people in the country. We would tax shareholder dividends in corporations, basically a wealth tax for corporations. There's so many things we could do, but they won't do because the things that they can do would negatively affect the people that are funding the parties, funding the Republican Party, funding the Democratic Party. So let's continue.
Happen. And if I have anything to say about it, it never will happen. Today, while many people take Social Security for granted, it's been around for a long time, let us remember, before Social Security was created in 1935, about half of our nation's seniors were living in poverty. Today, though the poverty rate is still too high for seniors, that rate is just 8.9%. 50% before Social Security, less than 9% today. Got to do better, but that is a significant improvement. Without Social Security, it is estimated that some 22 million Americans, including more than 16 million seniors, would be living in poverty. Yet, despite this important success, we should be clear that tens of millions of senior citizens are still struggling today to make ends meet, and many older workers are scared to death, literally frightened to death, that they will never be able to retire with any shred of dignity. According to the most recent data that I have.
All right, so a lot of people are worried about Social Security, worrying about them raising the age on Social Security. My dad, for example, he's more lean conservative or whatever, more conservative, economically conservative, yet he is worried about them raising the age on Social Security. So this is not just like a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan issue despite a party affiliation. Americans are really concerned about Social Security. So let's continue.
Seen 12% of seniors in America are trying to live on an income of less than $10,000 a year. Got that? 12% less than $10,000 a year. I don't know how anyone can live, seniors or otherwise, on less than $10,000. And equally important, 55% of seniors are trying to survive on less than $25,000 a year. Think about that. And when you're a senior, you're dependent on prescription drugs and health care.
Well, what we need to do about prescription drugs and healthcare. Healthcare is a human right for senior citizens and for every American. It should be a human right. Healthcare should be free. We should publicize it. It should be funded through taxpayer dollars. And we need to pass Medicare for all. This would help so many Americans. It would guarantee health care to everyone. And we need to expand Medicare for all to cover dental, vision, and hearing. Let's continue.
Trying to keep your home warm, trying to make it. On 25,000 years, that's more than half of the seniors in America.
Also, on my opinion about keeping your home warm, about utilities and things like that, the government needs to nationalize the energy sector and provide, if not for free, for lower prices, water, electricity, gasoline. If we nationalize the energy sector, this could be the start of transitioning to cleaner energy when we're talking about gasoline. This could be the start of transitioning to cleaner energy because we'd be taking out the profit. We'll be taking out the profit, what's the word I'm looking for? The profit motive from the fossil fuel industry. And also, they wouldn't be, the fossil fuel industry wouldn't be lobbying Republican politicians to oppose, like, the Green New Deal, for example. So let's continue.
Adding insult to injury, and this is an enormously important point that I think we don't make often enough. About half of older Americans, those who are 55 years of age and older, have no retirement savings. Got that? You're 55 years of age in America, you've worked your whole.
No, they don't have retirement savings because of the cost of living. It just keeps rising. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. As inflation's on the rise, you got gas prices on the rise, and a neoliberal president that won't do crap about it because he's too scared to upset some Republican politicians that are being lobbied by the fossil fuel industry and by corporations.
Whole life, you got zero in the bank for when you retire. And they are dependent on a Social Security benefit today that is less than $1,540 a month on.
For $1,540 per month is below the poverty line, by the way. Just want to point that out. That's below the poverty line. If I'm not mistaken, last time I heard about the what price the poverty line's at sometime earlier this year, it was at $2,000 by that time. I don't know if it's changed or not, but that's the last it's been. So let's continue.
On average. Now, despite what some politicians have been saying for years, Social Security today is not on the line going broke. Social Security has a $2.85 trillion surplus in its trust fund and can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the next 13 years, okay? Social Security, you pay out all your benefits for the next 13 years. But what the actuaries want, what I want, what I think most people want is more than 13 years. The actuaries talk about 75 years being the kind of number that we should have as we go forward. After that 13 years, Social Security estimates that there will be enough funding. Social Security Administration estimates that there will be enough funding available to pay 80% of promised benefits. So you got all benefits for the next 13 years, 80% after that. Now, given that reality, our job, in my view, is not to cut Social Security, is not to raise the retirement age.
All right, so the stuff he's saying right here, this is why I think Bernie Sanders is actually for the working class, actually for the American citizens. He is calling for not cutting Social Security and not for raising the retirement age. And let's see what else he's going to say here.
As many of my Republican colleagues would have us do. Our job is to expand Social Security so that everyone in America can retire with the dignity that he or she deserves, and that every person in this country with a disability can retire with the security they need. And that is what the Social Security Expansion Act that I have introduced today, along with Senators Warren, Whitehouse, Merkley, Van Hollen, Padilla, Booker, and Gillibrand, is all about. This legislation has been endorsed by many, many organizations, including the AFL-CIO, the Alliance for Retired Americans, Social Security Works, the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, the American Federation of Teachers, and many, many other organizations. According to a letter, this is an important part of what this hearing is about today, according to a letter that I received from the Social Security Administration this morning, this legislation will fully fund Social Security for the next 75 years and expand benefits for senior citizens and people with disabilities. Now, how do we do that?
I would like to hear the expanded benefits. Hopefully he hopefully he starts talking about that in a moment.
You expand benefits and make Social Security solvent for the next 75 years, which is, I think, what the American people want. Well, the answer is not complicated. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, at a time when billionaires pay an effective tax rate lower than the average working person, at a time when the very richest people in this country are becoming much richer, this legislation demands that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes.
All right, so yes, I'm glad he said pay their fair share of taxes. I wouldn't mind raising taxes on the rich, but in order to raise taxes on the rich, you gotta make them pay their fair share of taxes first by implementing a wealth tax, which would tax their stocks that they own that they won't sell, because if they sell their stocks, they'd have to pay taxes. So let's continue.
Today, absurdly and grossly unfairly, there is a cap on income subject to Social Security taxes. That cap is now about $147,000 a year. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you are a multi-billionaire.
All right, so don't mean to interrupt so much, but I was trying to figure out what that actually meant. I thought that was a cap on the income of senior citizens at the end of the year, but if they're retired, I don't guess they would have an income. So I did not understand that. Luckily, Bernie is explaining that, so let's continue.
You pay the same amount of money into Social Security as someone who makes $147,000 a year. Got that? It means that if you make $147,000 a year, you pay 6.2% of your income in Social Security taxes. But if you make 10.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is, oh yeah, that's right. Part of your paycheck throughout your years of working goes into Social Security for down the road. So that's what. Okay, now I understand what he's saying.
10 times more than that, 1,470,000, you pay 0.6% of your income in Social Security taxes. All of this is taking place at a time of massive income and wealth inequality. Now, that may make sense to somebody. It does not make sense to me. Our legislation applies the Social Security payroll tax on all income, including capital gains and dividends, for those who make over $250,000 a year. Under this legislation, 93.6% of households would not see their taxes go up by 1 penny. So the overwhelming majority of the American people would not see any increase in their taxes under this proposal. The tax increase in our legislation only applies to the wealthiest 6.4% of all Americans, those who make $250,000 a year.
Okay, so I do not think I actually understand Social Security very well. Someone please explain a little bit more, because I was under the idea. Well, my dad told me a little about this. I was under the idea that the money that you pay in taxes for Social Security goes to you by the time you retire. It goes to you monthly. But I think what Bernie Sanders is saying is that the money that you pay in Social Security when you work goes into like a government treasury or whatever, and then gets given out to senior citizens. I can't. I'm not that good at explaining that, but comment down below. Tell me how it actually works, because I really don't understand. I'll do some research on it, but I don't understand this.
Year or more. Further and importantly, under this bill, Social Security benefits would be increased by $2,400 a year for both new and existing recipients, lifting millions.
Okay, yeah, now that is what I understand that, and that would work. That would be good. I don't understand the other, but that would be good, because that's above the poverty line. Let's continue.
Millions of seniors out of poverty. In addition, under this bill, we would increase COLAs for senior citizens by more accurately measuring the spending pattern for senior citizens through the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. Now, one of the reasons that I called this hearing, and I'm glad that Senator Graham has been able to be here, is that there is, in fact, a strong philosophical difference.
I think he's talking about he's glad Lindsey Graham's there, because Lindsey Graham was talking about protecting Social Security in a debate he had on Fox Nation. So happy with Senator Sanders on Fox Nation. Let's continue.
Between many of us in the Democratic caucus and many in the Republican caucus as to the best way forward with regard to Social Security. And that's kind of the discussion we're going to have today. While virtually all members of the Democratic caucus are on record in support of expanding Social Security benefits, the Republicans, by and large, have taken a very different approach. And I'm delighted, and I hope they will show up, that some of the Republicans who have taken strong positions on this issue, I see Senator Romney's here, and I'm glad that is the case. Look forward to hearing from him. That some of the Republicans who have taken strong positions on this issue are on this committee. And I know that they're going to be explaining where they come from, and I look forward to that debate. Earlier this year, Senator Rick Scott, the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, released a plan that would sunset Social Security every 5 years, raise taxes on millions of seniors, and jeopardize the guaranteed income of 65 million Americans who depend on Social Security. Just a few months ago, the Republican Study Committee in the House introduced a bill that would raise the Social Security retirement age to 69 years of age over the next 8 years and privatize Social Security by allowing employers to divert.
Privatization is a terrible idea for Social Security. Privatization would make it about profit over actually helping senior citizens. You look at privatization of anything, privatization of hospitals. That's why our hospitals are making so much money, and a lot of Americans cannot even afford health care. Prescription drugs, Big Pharma does this. These are privatized companies that directly affect American citizens. Uh, they should not be private if they're directly affecting American citizens. Schools should not be private. Hospitals should not be private. Social Security should not be private. Pharmaceutical companies should not be private. They should not be making profit off of us. Let's continue.
Payroll tax dollars into less generous private retirement accounts. Last year, Senator Romney, who is here with us, has opposed raising taxes on the wealthy to strengthen Social Security, introduced legislation to form a committee to propose cuts to Social Security behind closed doors. In 2020, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell told a Bloomberg reporter that, quote, he hopes to work with the next Democratic president to trim Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, end quote. In 2011, my colleague Senator Graham introduced legislation to raise the full retirement age to 70 by 2032 and index it to longevity. Further, in 2003, Senator Graham introduced a bill that would have cut Social Security benefits for current wage earners by 27%, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Now, as I think everybody knows, I don't often agree with former President Donald Trump. But this is what he said when he was campaigning for president in 2015, and he was right. He said, quote, every Republican, this is in the Republican primary, every Republican wants to do a big number on Social Security, they want to do it on Medicare, and they want to do it on Medicaid, end quote. Well, let me be clear, we cannot allow that to happen.
One thing I do want to say about Trump, I do have a few things in common, and Bernie actually has a few things in common with Trump. When it comes to protectionism, when it comes to Social Security, apparently, I did not actually know that about Trump. I did not know he said that. I got into politics around 2020. I only watched like Fox News back then, but then I shifted more towards libertarian. I went from conservative, more libertarian, then more centrist, center right, really, and then more lean left, and then now Democratic Socialist. So, yeah. But, what's that? Yeah, that's all I was going to say.
The vast majority of the American people understand that a moral society does not give tax breaks to billionaires and then cut back on the needs of struggling seniors or people with disabilities.
True, we need to, I don't even know why we give tax credits to billionaires. I mean, I know the motive of politicians to do that, but how do they justify it is more of what I'm thinking. How do they justify that? Cutting taxes for the rich? Well, actually, I do know how they justify it. They said they're going to lower taxes for the poor. Ronald Reagan did this, for example. But let's continue.
In fact, 72% of Americans support increasing, not cutting, Social Security benefits by asking millionaires and billionaires to pay more into the system.
Like I said, this is a bipartisan issue, despite your party affiliation. Despite a lot of people's party affiliations, they support expanding Social Security. They support not raising, they oppose raising the retirement age.
So that is where we are right now. It's a great philosophical difference. I look forward to the debate. Some of us think that the very wealthiest people in this country are doing extraordinarily well, should in fact be asked to pay more into Social Security so we can protect.
They should be paying more in Social Security. Take, for example, people who own like more large multinational corporations. You've got millions of workers that are they're the ones that got you there. They're the ones that are making these products. They're the ones that are selling these products and things like that. And then you got someone on the top that's doing absolutely nothing but gets all the profit for it. I don't care if he made a risk. This is not something Bernie's saying, but it should be, the means of production should be worker owned, worker led, worker owned. And yeah, let's continue.
Millions of low-income and struggling seniors. Others disagree.
All right, so another fantastic speech by Senator Bernie Sanders. That's going to conclude this video, Bernie 2024. Thank you for watching. I don't know what else to say. Subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. Leave a like, all that. And I'll see you in the next one. Try not to kill each other, and peace.